All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Chef Triathlete Podcast, a recipe for mental, physical health, and longevity, where we blend performance, mindset, and longevity into one powerful recipe. If you're not familiar, I am Anthony McCauley, an endurance athlete, coach, and lifelong student of health optimization. And this show is all about helping you become stronger mentally, physically, and hormonally so you can thrive in every season of life. We talk about training. We talk about hormone health. We talk about discipline, recovery, family, and growth, because longevity isn't accidental, it is intentional. So whether you're chasing a PR, navigating a new season of life, or just trying to feel like yourself again, you are in the right place. So I'm very excited to talk about the topic today. If you don't follow my other social medias, we actually started a series on hormone replacement therapy. We focused on men, and now we are focusing on women. So this actually aligns perfectly with what my focus is for this week. So today we're going to talk about hormone health and kind of go over the signs and dig into things you should look for and next steps if you're having some of these symptoms. Now, keep in mind that I'm not a medical professional. This is simply educational advice that I'm giving you. So if you're losing motivation, you feel like you're losing any type of strength, drive, or you're having bad sleep quality, in this episode, we're going to break down the subtle signs of hormone imbalance in both men and women and why so many people are dismissed because they fall inside a reference range, and they're not sure if that range is supposed to be where it is or they just are supposed to feel the way that they feel. We talk about low testosterone in men. We're going to talk about perimenopause and menopause in women, how all this relates to cortisol and chronic stress, and why normal always doesn't mean optimal. Just like I mentioned a couple of seconds ago, you may go get your hormone panels done. Everything might show up in range. But if you're not feeling like you should feel, then they're not optimal. These numbers are just a range, and we'll get into that a little bit. The importance of this education is to just give you some brief knowledge on this topic so you feel more confident with yourself in asking more questions from a medical professional. We spend thousands of dollars on supplements. We buy these training plans. We try these new diets. But if the issue isn't discipline and it's you're doing all the right things and you still just don't feel right, then most likely it's your hormone imbalance. It's chemistry. I've been taking a deep dive into hormone education lately for both men and women, and what I'm realizing is that most people just walk around feeling off. That you're told by your doctor, you're going for yearly checkups, everything looks fine, everything looks good, or you're good, but I don't know about you, but I'm 46 years old, and I hear it all the time from people saying they just, once you hit 40 or once you hit 45, everything falls off, and I don't have the same energy, I don't have the same drive, I feel lackluster. You don't have to feel that way. And one of those reasons could be that your hormones are not optimized. Most people, like I said, walk around feeling off, but they're told they're fine. Low energy, brain fog, poor sleep. How about that stubborn weight you can't seem to get rid of? How many of you are, pretty much feel like you're eating right, you're going to the gym, you're getting your steps in, you're doing everything right, but you cannot make that number move on the scale. You can't get rid of that stubborn belly fat. Are you having low drive? What I mean by low drive is not just in the bedroom. Are you having low drive in general? Like I said, are you just, living life kind of day to day and no drive to do something new or exciting? Are you having mood swings? Are you really irritable all the time? These are all telltale signs that even if your lab work shows you're in a specific range, you're not optimized, and there could be something that's causing that. So that's what we're going to break down today. We're going to talk about hormones and why hormones matter and give you some clarity on this topic. So what do hormones do? A lot of people think about, testosterone and have this perception that testosterone means, oh, big, strong, muscular, right? That's, bodybuilders take testosterone to grow muscles, and that's really all it's intended for. And that's totally wrong, right? Hormones control energy. They control your recovery. They control your mood, your metabolism. And yes, they do influence muscle preservation and fat storage. They have a huge impact on your motivation and mental clarity. Hormones help control all of your body functions. When your hormones are optimized, that brain fog, it just kind of goes away. You have more focus. You start to feel more energetic. You start to feel more confident. We talked about what that confidence does in the last episode. When you're confident, you are more apt to do those uncomfortable things, and having hormones out of balance is one of those roadblocks that could be holding you back. So why do hormones matter more than you think? Performance of life after 40 years old, right? Longevity, injury prevention, and burnout. These are all things as middle-aged adults that we deal with on a daily basis. And these are all telltale signs that your hormones could be off. This is something that you really should educate yourself in. I urge everyone, we're going to talk about this further into the episode, but get a hormone panel done through your medical provider. Understand the ranges and understand what that panel means. Like I said, the numbers are just a range. So if you're in a range and you still aren't feeling right, maybe that's not your range. So let's talk about low testosterone in men. So these are the signs that are often ignored because middle-aged men just think they're aging and this is how you're supposed to feel, right? So decreased drive. Like I said, not just in the bedroom, just little drive, little motivation to do anything. Slower recovery. You're doing a full days of yard work, right? Or you have a job where it's a lot of labor involved. You take down trees, or you work in construction, you're an electrician, whatever that may be, and you're just constantly being drained day by day by day, and in the weekend isn't even enough time, or your days off are not even enough time for you to fully recover. Belly fat. Increased abdominal fat. This is a huge telltale sign of low testosterone in men. Now, I'm not talking about, belly fat that you have there just because you're not healthy, you're not taking care of yourself. I'm talking, about the guys that are out there that don't understand where this belly fat they have is coming from, and they just can't seem to get rid of it. That sits right around, you call it the donut, right? Sits right around your love handles, sits at the bottom of your stomach, a lot of visceral fat down there. That's a telltale sign that your hormones could be off. Poor sleep. How many people do you hear say, oh, I really only sleep like 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 hours a night. If I get 5 hours a night, that's a really good sleep. That's all I really can sleep. I don't sleep easy anymore. You should be. You should be sleeping well. We need 7 hours of sleep on average, possibly more, to be able to recover, to be able to our bodies to reset, to function the way they should. If you're working out, your body is building muscle at night, overnight. So if you're not getting good sleep, you are not going to be able to do any of these things. This is a pretty amazing fact about sleep. LeBron James sleeps 12 hours a night, 12 hours a day. Now, granted, he has a different lifestyle, right? He's able to take long naps. He's able to sleep long. Even when he's traveling, he prioritizes sleep. And he is in an amazing shape, still playing at a high level at 40 years old. That's how important sleep is, and that's what sleep can do for you if you prioritize it. So that's an important topic. So you're having all these signs, you kind of go to the doctors and, they tell you you're within range, but you just don't feel right. So what's the next step? The next step is to take that blood panel, analyze it yourself, and go to another medical professional. Maybe go to a men's clinic that specializes in hormone therapy and hormone replacement. Explain to them how you're feeling. Give them your blood panel, and they can help you with your challenges. They can possibly help you with hormone replacement therapy that could get you in a range that works for you. Just don't give up when you're told you're in range and that's it. This is just how you're supposed to feel. That is not correct. Educate yourself on what this panel does and what these ranges mean. You're gonna see testosterone on there. You're gonna see free testosterone on there. You're going to see estrogen levels. You're going to see all these different levels with different numbers and different ranges. And like I said, just because you're within the normal range, it really matters how you feel. So take that, pause on that for a minute. We're going to get into the next topic. We are going to talk about women, perimenopause and the silent shift. I have to tell you this, my wife, she laughs at me all the time because I am absolutely so intrigued about the whole perimenopause and menopause with women, and what women go through with this change. You know, men, we go through a change as we get older. I just explained what happens when we get low testosterone and our hormones are off. Women deal with this, but even more. And a lot of women do not understand or are educated on how to deal with these issues or challenges they deal with, and they just deal with them, which is not good as well. So let's talk about women, perimenopause, and the silent shift, and kind of talk about, you know, some steps, including hormone therapy, that can help with all of this and a lot of the telltale signs. So, like I said, this is a huge and underdeserved topic, so I really want to get into it. So what are some of the signs? Cycle changes, brain fog. This is a huge one. Anxiety out of nowhere, sleep disruption, body composition changes. Once again, similar to the abdominal body fat with men, women go through body composition changes when they start to hit perimenopause and menopause. Now, you have to understand that some women don't see the signs early, or they might see some signs but not recognize them. Perimenopause can start 8 to 10 years before menopause, and women are awfully told, oh, you know, that anxiety is just stress. You just can't sleep because you're really stressed out right now. Life is just crazy for you, and you're just getting older, and that's why you're having a lot of these symptoms. You know, you're not building muscle the way you used to. You're just getting older. Most of this is not true. Most of this is not true. Your hormones as a woman are shifting and causing a lot of these challenges. And this directly relates to cortisol, which is the hidden sabotage of it all. Cortisol does so many things within the body, right? It actually is a protector of ours. It alerts us when we need to be alerted. This is why cortisol is so important for waking up. This is how we get alerted when we wake up in the morning. And we spoke about this in the past, is that when your cortisol spikes when you first wake up in the morning, you have to find a way to bring that back down and regulate it, or it's just going to stay high throughout the day. So what are the negative effects of cortisol? Chronic stress. It flattens your testosterone. It absolutely ruins your progesterone. It impacts the thyroid. It can impair fat loss. When you tie this to overtraining, overworking, undereating, poor sleep, this is a recipe for disaster. This is where a lot of women get stuck. They're feeling all of these things, and they're trying to overcompensate with training, with their diet, and it's just causing a lot of stress, which is causing poor sleep and a lot of these other symptoms. So what should females, what should women do when they start to, recognize these symptoms and they understand that it's just not how you should feel, right? It's just not how life goes. There's a lot of things you can do to help these things, and optimizing your hormones is definitely one of them. because I mentioned in the past, when you optimize your hormones and you can optimize your mitochondria through, fixing your diet, maybe incorporating some research peptides, you start to feel so different. That mental clarity comes back. You have drive. You want to keep moving forward. And you have this positive energy within your life. Even when challenges come about, you feel like you can just literally get through everything, right? You start to feel, I don't want to say like you're 20 years younger, but you just start to feel different. And hormone therapy has a lot to do with this. So being optimal in terms of hormones is something that everyone, once you hit a certain age, I would say as young as 35, start to understand your hormones, if even younger than that, especially for women. Men usually hold pretty well with their testosterone production up until about 30 or 35, and then it slowly starts to fall off. But like I mentioned with women, you can start perimenopause 8 to 10 years before menopause. And menopause can happen at very early sometimes in a woman's life. So what can we do here to help you optimize your hormones? You just have to realize this is not about jumping into therapy. This is more about education and understanding your own data. Once again, get that full hormone panel done, right? Educate yourself on it. Ask these questions. Ask the questions that you don't understand. Don't just look at it and see everything in range. Everything could be in range, but you could say to your doctor, well, why am I anxious all the time? Why am I not sleeping well? I've been having, issues with my cycle, but you're telling my hormones are in range. Maybe they're not. For an example, one thing that women especially can look for, and this is a telltale sign that their hormones are off, or it's something that's not always in a general hormone panel. So your thyroid is checked, right, within your hormone panel, but it doesn't always dig down further. You have to understand what your T4 and your T3 levels are. If these levels are off, that is directly going to impact your thyroid, which will directly impact a lot of challenges you're having in terms of fat loss, fatigue, and recovery. So you want to make sure you understand the whole panel, not just a couple, sections of the panel itself. Track your symptoms. Go have your blood work done. You're having these symptoms. Maybe nothing changes. Track that. 3-4 months, get your blood panel done again. If it looks the same and you're feeling the same, this is when you need to start to push. Doctor, I'm tracking everything. I'm having the same symptoms. My panel looks exactly the same. Something is off here. Can we dig deeper into this? And continue to do that every 3 or 4 months. I fully believe as a middle-aged adult, you should be looking at your hormone panel every 3 to 4 months. There's other ways to get your panel done that aren't too expensive other than through your medical provider. You can pay out of pocket. It's an investment, but it is so worth it because there are so many things that could change that can be mitigated if you're looking at it every 3 to 4 months. So you are continuously trying to optimize your hormones and mitigate these symptoms. Like I said, I'm not a medical provider, but we're really just here to help everyone out. We want middle-aged adults to feel the way they should. We don't want to have that excuse anymore of, oh, this is just what life is. This is just what 40 is. This is what 50 is. It is not. I'm telling you right now, if you are having any of these symptoms and you haven't pushed on your hormone panel, you need to make that a priority because you are going through life with challenges that you do not need to. And don't be afraid. If hormone therapy ends up becoming an option, do not be afraid of it. I think, us 40-something-year-olds are still in that generation where we perceive, hormone therapy or adding hormones to you as a bad thing, right? Because all we know of, testosterone and those things of adding those is what bodybuilders or, you're going to laugh, but WWE wrestlers, all these guys did to get big and strong. And then a lot of them abused these testosterone and things like that. And they died young, right? That is totally different. This is therapy to optimize your hormones. This is adding certain dose of hormone to bring it to the level where you feel good, where your blood work is in line with how you feel. It's really important to understand that and not to fear it, because I promise you, if you have low testosterone and you're a middle-aged adult, you are going to feel so much different if you start to take these steps. You don't have to live in the brain fog. You don't have to live, with the stubborn belly fat. You don't have to just be getting up every day, living life just day to day because you have no drive, you have no energy, or, you don't have to be frustrated in the bedroom because you can't perform because you're having issues with your hormone levels. So let's talk about next steps. Let's do a little recap. First, you're going to recognize the symptoms. If you're having any of these symptoms that we discussed, male or female, you really want to dig deep into where these symptoms are coming from. And if you cannot figure out where these symptoms are coming from, your next step is to go to your doctor's office and request a hormone panel. Once you get that panel back, review it with your doctor, and if it's not in range, start to discuss hormone therapy with them and see what your options are. There's many different options out there. Let's talk about options briefly. So, in terms of hormone replacement therapy, depending on what that course looks like, not everything needs to be always an injection. There's gels out there. There's creams out there. There's even patches out there now. There's a lot of options to go over. So you have, you can do something that's comfortable for you. You don't have to do something that's completely uncomfortable. So you're going to discuss that with your doctor. If they tell you that everything's fine, everything looks good, either push back or go to a specialized hormone replacement therapy clinic. Now, with that being said, I understand all of this is an investment financially and time, right? These practitioners, these clinics, they specialize in hormone therapy. It is an additional cost, but the investment, the return on the investment is far superior than what the cost is. Let's say the initial payment for a consultation with a hormone replacement therapy practitioner is $250. I get it. That's a lot of money for a visit. What are you spending on Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts or going out on the weekend or DoorDash or whatever it is during the week? I can guarantee you there's something in there that is well worth cutting back to make the investment on yourself to see someone that specializes in hormone therapy. So you figure that out, you take the leap, you go see someone who specializes in it. They're going to review your panels with you, but they're also going to ask you how you feel. You are going to tell them all the symptoms that you're having. They're going to take all that information, they're going to look at your ranges of your hormone panel, and they are going to give you a more specialized answer in terms of what next steps are. And if those next steps are to explore hormone therapy and you're still not comfortable, do your research. I always say this all the time. Go online, do some research, or maybe you know someone else that has done the hormone therapy and they can kind of tell you their experience. Anything new is scary. Anything different is scary, right? You're taking hormones and adding them to your body to balance your body out, to optimize your hormones. But for a lot of people, this is way out of your comfort zone and you're really nervous about it. But I promise you, if this is the right course of action, once again, the return on investment and how you will start to feel once you get your hormone balance in line and optimized is going to be amazing. It might not happen overnight. You might see a practitioner. You might go to a hormone therapy replacement clinic. Maybe you start a course of action. It can take as little as 3 months or as long as a year to find that right balance for you. So you have to be patient. We live in a world of instant gratification. We want to feel the effects right away. This is an investment. It takes time. Like I said, it could take up to a year, especially for women. It could take up to a year to find the right course of action, the right balance of hormone therapy to get those optimized. But man, once they do, your life is going to change dramatically. It's going to change dramatically. So I think everyone should prioritize this. It's something that I'm very, very passionate about. And I just think that if you're not thinking about this, or you're nervous about it, or uneducated about hormone therapy as a middle-aged adult, you really should take that next step. So today was just kind of an overview, right? And I'm actually teasing this for a deeper discussion next week. I'm very excited. We have a special guest coming on. We're going to talk more about hormone health, especially with menopause, and how that plays a role with nutrition and hormonal shifts. Also talk about training, muscle prevention, metabolism, and mindset. My friend Courtney is coming on. She has been studying for quite some time now. She is a personal trainer. She is a nutritionist, and she specializes in perimenopause and menopause. So we are going to dig deeper next week into this topic. I'm very excited about it. So if this episode intrigued you, I urge you, or I definitely stay tuned and listen for the next episode, because we are going to dig into this more. I want us all to be as optimized as we can. I want us all to be strong, live long, enjoy every season of life. And when you hit that middle-age season, it gets difficult. So why not do everything we possibly can on our end to optimize that stage of life? With that being said, thank you guys all for joining the Chef Triathlete Podcast.